plants and how did they find these two plants that have a synergetic effect, meaning 1 and 1 is not 2, but 1 and 1 is 3. Because ayahuasca is more than just a prolonged DMT effect. It is a different effect than when you take pure DMT. Okay, that's what it is, where it comes from, and then where does it go? It comes from the Amazon, it comes from the northwestern part of the Amazon. It has been used for many years. It's impossible to say for how many years. If you dive into the literature, you will find people claiming that it's 3,000 years old because they found a certain pot that resembles an ayahuasca pot, but there's no real proof for that. It's for sure it's several hundred years old, it's possibly 1,000 years old. And it is used traditionally in a very big part of the Amazon. So it's considered to be a very wise plant teacher by the indigenous people in the Amazon. Because of the special relationship these indigenous people have with the ayahuasca, it has been spreading. And for example, nowadays in Brazil, outside of the Amazon, you will find churches that use ayahuasca. Brazilians that were working in the jungle met Indians who showed them how to use ayahuasca. And so because of that, they started to form a church and do very special rituals. Ayahuasca is becoming very popular. Maybe this is one reason why so many people are here. Nowadays, you can drink ayahuasca in Australia, in the United States. I heard it's even served in Nepal. So it's become a really global drink. Now, if you see how it all started, you have to go back to, of course, to the Amazon and to these indigenous groups where normally shamans would prepare and serve this brew. The idea behind serving this brew, say the purpose of these ayahuasca ceremonies were and are therapeutical, medicinal, but also for divination. Like in the old days, the shaman would find in his ayahuasca journey where the animals were the day before the group would go hunting, or the shaman would find out what these fuckers from the other side of the mountain were doing. Were they attacking their village or not, or they wanted to attack people from the next mountain? So it was used in warfare, it was used in hunting, but it was also used in healing people, and it is also used in, like, more or less in a social setting. If you see, like, I've been participating in shamanic ceremonies from Peruvian, Ecuadorian, Colombian indigenous people, and you see there's a really big variety of ceremonies. Like if you start with the indigenous groups, where probably the most original types of rituals are to be found, it's really a huge difference. Like, for example, a very well-known shaman from the Shipibo tribe in Peru is called Arno Adelaars, who, in a typical Peruvian fashion, does his ceremonies in pitch darkness. So it's not even a candle, it's only in the night, and there's not even a candle, it's total dark. And this guy, he will hand out this quite strong ayahuasca. And it will be quiet for at least an hour. The only thing you will hear is maybe somebody vomiting, or somebody crying for help, or somebody laughing out loud, and then slowly he starts humming. And then he hums for half an hour. And then he starts singing. And then he sings for many hours. So this is a typical Shipibo ceremony. And what's typically on the Peruvian style is that's always done in darkness. For example, if you go to Colombia, so the southern part of Colombia, I'm relatively familiar with several groups there. It is very different. There's always light. There's a lot of social interaction. There will be people talking the whole night. There will be people making fun. At the same time, others will have a really hard time, will enter the depth of their own hell or whatever. It can be a very chaotic experience, so very, very different from the way, for example, this Peruvian shaman is working. One time, last spring, I was invited to come to the sacred mountain of the Cofan Indians in the south of Colombia, and do some ceremonies there with their chief, a very famous Colombian shaman. For me, it was like a dream coming true to have this opportunity. And then I was lying high in the mountains, but still in the jungle, in his ceremonial house. And he was joking the whole night and having a really awful lot of fun. At the same time, they were drinking huge amounts of ayahuasca. So when I look around, I see several people who are quite experienced. But just imagine that the first cup you have to hold like this, and it's like 3-4 times what you're used to drink, and you drink 3 of these cups during the night. So really incredible amount of ayahuasca, and at the same time they just keep on joking. There were moments that I really didn't know what was going on anymore, but they were having fun. So this is to give you an idea about how traditionally in the original indigenous context there's a wide variety, and I've heard this many times when I was say studying ayahuasca, that every shaman does it in his own way. And I found out, actually, I just mentioned this the ceremony I did on the sacred mountain of the Cofan in the south of Colombia with the chief, with Tata-Kerubin, who's the chief of the Cofan. A couple of years before, I had participated in a ceremony conducted by his nephew, and who was also his student. So there's another shaman being from the same family. The one being a teacher, the other the student. And this was a completely different, totally different ceremony. Like, he was dressed in the same way. He was from the same family, the same tribe. But that was all. The ayahuasca was extremely strong with the student. The ceremony was full of rules. There was a total division between men and women. It was not very friendly towards the women, the whole atmosphere. And there were some assistants who all the time were really looking whether you were behaving according